Hello, Las Vegas, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Golf at the Park, Angel Park Golf Club's weekly interview show. Thank you so much for tuning in, liking this video, and subscribing to our channel. We've doubled in subscribers. We're really excited. So jump on board now at the beginning, and let's see where this little show takes us to. And on that note, would like to welcome in the general manager of our sister course, Durango Hills. And that general manager is Kevin Swain. Kevin, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Jed. My pleasure.
Kevin has a long history in Las Vegas golf, so we're excited about that. And we'll hear all about Durango Hills and how he got to Vegas later, because his golf story starts a little bit younger for him. So, Kevin, let's just start right at the beginning. How'd you get introduced to golf, and who introduced you to it?
Sure. My dad's side of the family has always played golf. My mom's side, not so much, but my dad's side always did. Long golfing background there. And so I'd go out with my dad when I was a kid, and got me my first set of clubs. I don't remember how old or whatever, but I'd just been batting it around all that time. And when I was a kid, and I'd just go to the golf course with him in the summer, or as much as I could in the summer, and so started playing. I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years old, I guess, and kind of started really getting a little bit more competitive about 8, 9, or 10, and so forth, and. It's just been kind of history ever since, really.
And you played around, all your family played, right?
Pretty much. My dad played. My mom didn't play. My sister didn't play, but my dad played. My cousins, they mostly all played. My aunts and uncles. I've got a golfing background in one of my uncles was the head golf pro at Cedar Ridge Country Club in Tulsa, Oklahoma for 37 years, I believe. He was there for a long time, and real respected PGA professional. His son is a real respected teaching pro there in Oklahoma, and
they're still in Oklahoma.
They are, yes, out of Cedar Ridge, and just a big background there, but So most of my dad's family all played.
And you're from a really small town, right? Let's talk about that a little bit.
That is correct. A little town called Jowell, New Mexico. It's right in the southeastern part of the state, about 2,000 people, 8 miles from the Texas border. Our nearby towns are for finding it would be Hobbs, New Mexico, Carlsbad, New Mexico, Roswell, New Mexico, the whole alien incident. Odessa and Midland, Texas are about 80 miles away. Our big claim to fame is oil and gas. That's our big product there, if you will. So that's what built the town. That's what built the golf course. But claim to fame is oil and gas, and Kathy Whitworth is from there as well. And
yeah, this is great. Why don't you tell us about Kathy?
Sure. Kathy Whitworth is in it. It's unfortunate because she doesn't get the recognition she deserved. She is the most winningest golfer of all time. I think she won 88 times, more than Tiger, more than Hogan, more than Snead.
On the women's PGA Tour, so she doesn't ever get any credit
at all. And you hear the most wins of all time in Tiger, but she actually has one more. Not the majors, but she's won more times.
And she's from this little town, Jowell, New Mexico.
Correct. And my uncle, the one up in Tulsa, taught her when she was younger as well, helped her out, and so it's pretty cool. But unfortunately, she passed away on Christmas Eve this past year.
Oh wow!
Yeah, which is too bad, but so that's pretty cool. But that's our. Oil and gas and Kathy Whitworth is pretty much about all we had.
And what's the population? I think we glossed over that.
We about 2,000 people. When I graduated high school in 1997, a whopping 43 kids in my class. There was about 2,000 population now, and it's still about the same, really.
So that's so fun because now let's talk about you're playing golf young, and you love it and you're enjoying it, and so you get to high school and you probably want to play on a high school team. What's a high school golf team look like in Jowell, New Mexico?
It is there's not too many. Luckily, it's funny because I played, my good friend played. And we were able to kind of scrounge up 3 or 4 other kids to play to make a team of 5.
To have a team.
Correct. And I know one year it was funny because we actually convinced a bunch of girls to play, girls that we kind of liked and stuff like that. And we convinced them to play, which probably wasn't the best idea. But,
Hey, you were ahead of your time.
We were, yeah. And so we got them to play one year, which was cool. But, yeah, there was really pretty much 5 of us. The whole in our town is so small that you have to play they allow eighth graders to play on the varsity team just because you need the people, and that's in all sports, football, basketball, track.
Right.
And so we played, you played, I mean, as an eighth grader all the way through a senior, you played. And once again, it wasn't like it was real competitive. It was just pretty much you were on the team by process of elimination.
Yeah.
So, but it was fun. We had a good time, and, we got to, for us, unlike what I've noticed here, since there's so many schools here, you can just go around and play these 9-hole matches in the afternoon. Well, we had to travel for our tournaments, southern New Mexico all the way up to, we played our state high school golf tournament in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Well, I remember you telling me when we were talking earlier that you got to travel all over the state, and that was one of your coolest parts about playing golf.
Absolutely.
Because you're playing in, are you playing all the nice courses? Because you're having to play with other, I mean, I don't know what kind of class tournaments you're playing against, what kind of schools you're playing against.
We, there's, we played where just kind of like anything, we're upon availability, of course, but we played some good golf courses there. We played Paradise Hills Golf Club in Albuquerque whenever I was a junior. And then we went to Cannon Air Force Base in my senior year out of Clovis,
Cool.
New Mexico. And so, yeah, we played some good ones. They're up in the mountains of Ruidoso, New Mexico, were some great golf courses up, kind of like playing golf up at Lee Canyon area. It's up in the forest. And so, yeah, there were some good ones. There were some that were not so good, just like anywhere, but it was all fun. And since we had to travel, I think I missed about 10 days of school every springtime, which did not suck.
Yeah, right.
So that was fun. And so but it was cool, and I still stay in touch with kids that I played high school golf against. A good friend of mine's from Farmington, New Mexico, which is totally the opposite and of the part of the state, and he's in Albuquerque, New Mexico, running a golf operation there at Los Altos, and
Still in golf, and
and he and I have known each other since pretty much junior and high schools, and we still keep in touch, and so it's a pretty cool, it's a cool deal.
That's great. So what happens in college? You're probably not looking to play golf in college then, right?
I my first year, after out of high school, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be when I grow up or anything. So I went and played at New Mexico Junior College in Hobbs, New Mexico, about 40 miles away. And I played on the golf team. I did okay.
Sure.
I made a couple of tournaments, but that was about it. I wasn't overly trying real hard, and just kind of played a couple of times. Met some cool people there that I still stay in touch with again to this day. Which is pretty neat. And so, yeah, played a year there and just kind of didn't do real good in the old education side of it, but I enjoyed it, once again, made
That's
some
a
good
standard
friends.
thing for people at their freshman year of college. So what happens? Where do you don't stay at the junior college?
So I played there for a year, got some more basics out of the way, education-wise and everything like that. And then my first year was up, and I kind of decided I didn't want to keep playing golf. I was getting a little burned out, I was playing all the time or whatever. And so then I started that next summer working for a local electrical company, just for the summer, like an intern, or not an intern, but a summer job. And they had a heating and air conditioning department. And so I started helping a guy in that department, and that kind of sparked my interest. And so then I went after that. So my golf was kind of over with, if you will, and other than just playing when I want. And I moved to Las Cruces, New Mexico, what would be my sophomore year in college, and went to a trade school there, and then actually went on and got my degree in heating and air conditioning, refrigeration, and everything, which is a good background to have. Come to find out later on.
Yeah. So where does that take you?
So it was.
'Cause you end up in the Midwest, I think.
Correct. So I was there for 2 years. I met a girl from the Midwest, and we met, and she eventually had to make it to the Midwest, back to the Midwest where she was from, and so I decided from small town New Mexico of being nice and hot weather like it is in Vegas to go to St. Paul, Minnesota. And so we moved up there, and I got a job in doing heating and air conditioning. And
that's why your story is interesting to me, because you grew up in golf or around golf, and then even played a little in college. Then you kind of get away from it, and you move to the Midwest, and your golf is probably the furthest thing from your mind as far as career. But how are you staying? You still love it. How are you staying in touch with it and close with it?
And so I got up there, and I moved up there. It was it was a cool deal. I had ended up getting a really good job doing heating and air conditioning. We worked 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 3. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you had your dream job.
It was a dream job. If I had a work van that I could drive it back and forth from work. And on Saturdays, I would usually wake up in the morning and call a golf course. Hey, do you have any availability? And they would, yeah, come out at 10 o'clock, and they'd put me on as a walk-on, and I'd go out and tee it up. And
I love this part of your story. So you're just going out on your days off by yourself just to be around golf.
For sure.
Just to play golf and practice. And are you using it to clear your mind? Are you really working on your game? What is it about doing that was important to you to be spending your spare time like that?
It was really just, because I was kind of missing golf because I hadn't been playing as much the last couple years prior. So I was missing it, but it was just something to do, and so I would just, like I said, call a golf course and walk on, and they'd stick me with 1, 2, or 3 other total strangers. I usually walked a lot of the Minneapolis public courses, and it was cool because I traveled all around the cities to play golf for fun, and golf was interesting back there because it was anywhere from $20 to $65 to walk, typically. You didn't have to, a lot of golf courses mostly allowed walking. And so it was just to go play golf and like I said, met some great people there. And
yeah, you said you have some friendships of strangers you met when you were paired that you're still friends with.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's been, that was early 2000. That was 2000 when I went up there, 2001 that I was up there doing that. And so
that's good on time frames because when we talked before, I was foggy on these. So 2001, you're in St. Paul.
Yep.
And you don't make it to Vegas until 2006. So that's pretty much you're for 5 years. That's what you're doing. You're playing golf and you're working in heating and air conditioning. And
I got ahead of myself. So one day it's in August, I remember, and I'm in my work van, and it's kind of like a day like today here in Vegas, if you will. But it was like 75 degrees. It was kind of overcast. It was a gorgeous day this time. And I decided there was a golf course, and I went by another golf course and another one at a driving range. And I was like, man, I kind of think I should be out there playing golf or a little bit more involved in golf. And I think I kind of want to get back into it, oddly enough. And so I told what became my wife, and then, it is like, I think I want to get back into golf. And so she was going to school for education. So being from New Mexico, New Mexico State University has a professional golf management program, one of the early.
Yeah, it's one of the best ones. Them and Penn State were 2 of the first.
Correct. They were, I think, the 4th one to do it, and a real good program. I knew people that had gone to the program. And so we so I decided, let's move back to New Mexico, and I'll re-enroll in college. And so I came back to New Mexico State and enrolled in. I got my degree in marketing and business, and I did all my PGA education through there. So we did that for 4 years. She got a job teaching, and so I moved back to Las Cruces and went to school for 4 more years and worked at a lumber yard during that time. I didn't play much golf, oddly enough, but I did what I needed to do, and I worked part time as much as I could to support myself, and so I lived there for 4 years, got my education.
Second degree, right?
My second degree, right? And I think by the time I graduate, I think I've got enough hours to become a doctor almost. It felt that way. And actually, after a certain amount of hours, they cut you off for financial aid, too. Just keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind if you want to be an academic.
I found that out, that it's after a certain amount of hours, you start paying out of pocket. So, but I came out, it was... I went to the PGA Merchandise Show in January 2006 to look for jobs for an internship. I'd done some internships prior to that. I went up to Brainerd, Minnesota a couple of summers. I should have started with that earlier, but I went to Brainerd, Minnesota for a couple internships, which was fantastic. Then I made it back up to Tulsa, Oklahoma as well, where I lived with my uncle and my uncle, aunt and uncle, and worked with my cousin there at Teaching Pro. But so fast forward to, like I said, January 2006. So I go to Orlando for the PGA show to kind of look for job opportunities, and then I saw a job opportunity come up on PGA Links, what used to be PGA Links, here in Las Vegas at the Legacy Golf Club. So I actually flew out in March 2006, excuse me. And I came over here to the Legacy Golf Club, and I interviewed with Randy Wigman. And
Randy Wigman. So let's shout out to Randy. Randy worked in the OB Sports team, which is now Troon family for a long time. And this is where it gets really fun for me, because I came back to golf in 2006 to work here at Angel Park. And so you got to Legacy at the same time. And just a little background on that, Angel Park and the Legacy Golf Course in Henderson were sister courses for the longest time, all of the 90s, I think, and the 2000s. So, it was a really neat dynamic where Jason Mattini, Randy Wigman, and I and Kevin all kind of worked together and at the two golf courses. So that was really fun. So you interview with Randy.
So I interview with Randy, and he says, "Yeah, come on, let's go." And so I have to come back to school, and I finish up, and I graduated on a Saturday in May and drove out on Sunday and started on Monday, like Monday, May 16th, 2006.
I love that you remember the date.
Pretty much, and just got after it. And I moved in with Jason Mattini, who was our group sales manager, such as yourself.
Matt, I need to have Jason Mattini on the show. Jason worked for OB Sports for a long time and played golf at Oregon the same years that Tiger played at Stanford. So he's got great stories. He played at Oregon with Ben Crane. So really good player and a really good guy. And the next time he's visiting from Seattle, I guarantee you he will be on the show. So I'm looking forward to that. So you moved in with Mattini?
So I moved
I can't imagine what that was like.
Yeah, moved in with Mattini, and he lived off of Charleston in the 215, and of course I'm driving back down to Henderson, not knowing any better, but it was fine, and it worked out great. It was fantastic. It worked out real well, and I appreciate him allowing me to stay with him, and it was awesome. And so I got hired as the tournament coordinator, in 2006, and just kind of worked my way up the ranks there, and it was great. It was a great place to work, and I was there for 11 years total. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your job as a tournament coordinator? Sure. So my job was, and so we did have a group sales person, such as yourself and Jason, Courtney Buck later on.
Yeah, that's how we divided up the jobs, right? So group sales side was out selling the golf groups and marketing, and the tournament coordinator was running the groups on the day of. So tell us what that all involves, because everybody watching has played in a golf tournament, but they probably don't know what's behind the scenes and how to run it.
For sure, and great question too, and I'll answer it in the fact of what I did, but from me as a general manager and operator of what a tournament coordinator from the outside would need to be looking at as well too. And so you're right. So the person would usually call the golf course and be looking for an event or outside event, or you guys would be doing your part, trying to sell and get the business. And so once you guys set all the parameters, contract, deposits, payment plans, all that type of stuff, then the tournament coordinator would grab the folder and take it over from there, and with the group salesperson still being very active in the event as well. And so, but we would get the folder, and you just have to call the people and see what they need for the event, what it's going to take, of course, how many people, it's all involved, what kind of stuff they're looking for their event, such as proximity markers, tent set up on the golf course.
Organization of anything that needs to be brought off course, and how to organize shotguns, all of the welcome tables, everything is kind of coordinated by you and the coordinator of the event on the customer side.
For sure. And that's the big thing too, in my experience of doing this for 17 years now, is just as a coordinator, whenever you approach a golf course or tournament outing situation, just make sure that you just be up front and tell people what you guys need and expect from us. And everybody will do our part. And if it can be done, we'll do it. And if we can't, we can't. That's just speaking from experience of what we've seen in experience.
Sure.
If you want an inflatable gorilla, it may not be possible. But if it is, we can all make it happen.
We'll get you a gorilla. Yeah.
But tell us ahead of time. Just be up front. Let's get it out in the open, and so no one's surprised. You can't bring 40 kegs of beer to a tournament on the outside if you don't have approval for that. It can't be done. And I say that because we've seen it.
Yeah, it's been tried.
And so it's just like I said, we're the tournament coordinator, the golf course. We're here to help. We're here to make it the best event possible for us and for you and for the tournament host as well, or the outing host. So just tell us what you need, and we'll do everything we can to do it. And sometimes the golf course has. Let me think how I say it. You may be asking for something, and sometimes the golf course can provide it, and sometimes they can't. Printing stuff. Sometimes it may be possible, sometimes it may not. Scorecards, not cart tags and things like that, but printing materials and stuff. Sometimes they can help and do that. If we can, we will, but a lot of times it's not. So just make sure you're prepared as the organizer, and just let the golf course know what you'll need and expect. And trust me, it'll make it way easier the day of.
Yep. So you're at Legacy 11 years?
11 years, correct.
So why don't you take us, because you don't leave Vegas, so what happens?
Correct. And so I started there, I was there 11 years and just kind of worked my way up the ranks. Came to work, worked hard, learned everything I could, as much information as I could, just dug in,
And you moved up through the ranks where you were eventually running the Legacy before you left.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. And they were kind of going through some changes there toward 2016, 2017, and so we lost our general manager / director of golf at the time. So I filled in that role at that time, and just we kind of got through. And then an opportunity came up in March of 2017, and so it was the right time. My time was due at the Legacy, I will say. Just and it was tough because it's hard to say what was going to happen with selling of the property and things like that. So this opportunity came up, and I took it. So I started in April 2017 at the Arroyo Golf Club at Red Rock.
Yeah. So Arroyo has a great Angel Park tie. Why don't you tell me who you interviewed with, who ended up hiring you, and I believe he's still operating all of those properties, isn't he?
Correct, yes, and his name is Tom Blinkensop.
Blinky.
Been a PGA professional here in town since the mid-'90s. I think he came out here in about 93 or 4, I believe.
And worked at Angel Park. That was his first place.
And so he worked at Angel Park, and did the same thing, kind of worked his way up and around the ranks there, and eventually made his way over to Red Rock through bouncing around a little bit, but he eventually made his way over to Red Rock, and he's the general manager over there over Red Rock Country Club, the Arroyo Golf Club, and Sienna Golf Club. He's the regional general manager, and so worked there for 5 years. A good busy operation, and I was director of golf over there and just running day-to-day operations, running events. With another friend of ours, Doug Chalmers, is doing the group selling over there.
So Dougie Chalmers and I have worked the same job at rival golf courses. We used to travel to golf shows together. I've already asked him to be on the show, so Doug, hopefully you will be on soon. Yeah, I love Doug. And that brings us up to COVID. So you're the director of golf at the time when COVID hits. Why don't you take us through the early stages of COVID from a golf operator's perspective?
For sure. And that was obviously, we were fairly busy leading up to it. And I will say too, is that Friday when they started to kind of really make the announcement that things were going to shut down, that probably was one of the toughest days I'd ever had in golf in the business. And because I was in the golf shop by myself that day, I remember, and I bet I answered 200 phone calls. And of course, it was always the same thing. And I'm thinking, well, I should just record myself and just answer the phone that way. But I answered every call, and it was the same thing. And of course, I didn't know any better. I didn't know none of us knew. And so finally, and then it was funny because then I remember after we decided our plan of action when we were going to reopen is I got the few people that were at work with me, and we all got our cell phones. I said, get your cell phone, let's put them on the table, and we call all of our staff. And so we had 7 or 8 cell phones out on the table, and I said, this is what I've been told we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. You're in or you're out. And so that was a tough couple of days there.
I remember here, us all meeting in the parking lot after we had closed, obviously, but we were trying to still meet. So we had our meeting in the parking lot. We all parked in different areas of our massive Angel Park parking lot. We all stood like 30 feet apart, and Jim was yelling at us, and it was a crazy time. It was a crazy thing to behold. But once it reopens, golf gets very, very popular. So that's what I was really interested in is, once we become so popular and we have to shift to one person per cart and we have to come up with other ideas to try to make it safe, why don't you tell us all about, again, from a golf operator's perspective?
For sure. And what an interesting deal because, and so we did what the guidelines said we could and could not do. And so that meant, everybody riding separately.
You guys even put a shield.
Correct. Yeah. We took some, they would be kind of more considered like a front windshield for a golf cart if you didn't have that, which a lot of golf courses don't. Not every golf courses have, coolers
right.
and windshields and stuff. It sounds common here, but it may not be. And so we put those, and we actually put a divider between the driver and the passenger seat. And so Doug and I actually one day installed them all on the Red Rock, on the Mountain Fleet and the Arroyo Fleet, and we put the divider up there so it was as safe as it could be. Was it the exact resolve? Well, it's up for debate,
right.
but it worked. And so it was a little uncomfortable, but it worked. And so we and I remember too I set up a table at the back door. I think you guys probably had to do that here at Angel Park. We set the table up at the back door. I moved all the computer equipment over.
Oh, right.
And so I'm running check-in like that. You just come to the back door and here you go. And it's very interesting. But it worked. And so we still got after it. And people kept playing. And then all of a sudden you start seeing people that you've never seen before. Because, I've been doing it long enough that, I recognize, if I don't recognize you as a guest or as a customer, I'm not doing a very good job. But so I started to see, but I see these people regularly, so I know who they are. But then I started seeing a lot of people I had not seen in the past. Well, come to find out, it kind of exploded because you could play golf. So people came out of the woodworks.
That's one of the reasons this show is started off with such a neat and interesting bang, is because even when I envisioned a podcast as recently as a couple of years ago, I thought it would be golf stories of all of people like you, my old friends that have been in town forever and been in golf. And I'm starting to find out really quickly that there are just as many interesting and fun characters and stories that are brand new in the game, and they're just as energetic, they're just as in love with the game, and it's fun to see all of that presents some issues though, as far as our demand goes up, our prices go up. That looks like it's maybe a bad thing from a golf course perspective when the rates go up and somebody says, well, you're being greedy. And then we're trying to turn around and do at that point is put more money back into the operation, which is why we came up with the sign and some other things. We wanted to show everybody that the golf course is trying to just keep up with the times and as best we can and still be as accessible as possible. So that's what you guys were dealing with too.
For sure, absolutely, and you're right. So unfortunately, just like anything, if the demand goes up, prices are going to go up. But as we've all discovered, though, just because those prices went up, it wasn't just to start gouging people. It was because everything else has gone up too. And if it's just apples to apples. And so but we eventually, the times have become good. So we've been able, when I was at Arroyo, we were able to make some good capital improvements, which was nice. And so we were charging a little bit more, but it also turned into, putting it back into the golf course.
Right.
As well.
And still trying to make the best experience possible and a better experience, which is what I've found has come from all of this, which has been great. So take us up to now. One of the reasons you're an early guest on the show is because you're back under the Troon umbrella now. So why don't you tell us about how that happened?
Correct. So, yeah. And so again, here it is 5 years later after working at Arroyo, and an opportunity presented itself, so I took it. It was the general manager role at Durango Hills Golf Club, which is, like you said, managed by Troon Golf.
Yeah, but why don't you just give us a 2-minute pitch on Durango Hills?
Sure. Durango Hills we're a par 58 executive course over on Cheyenne and Durango, so please come over and join us. It's owned by the city, but it's managed by Troon, and so that's been a good, Troon's a huge management company in the United States. Oh, no, it's worldwide, excuse me.
Right.
I think they've got 715 properties, just a great management company that's been around forever. And so we manage day-to-day operations, but like I said, we're owned by the city. We're, $30 green fees and things like that. It's, like I said, an executive course. You can get around in 3 hours, just get out there, cruise, come out, play some golf.
What are some of your favorite holes on the course?
And I will say I've been there for 4 months. I've only played the front nine so far. So a little tip
Get out and play some golf.
I know,
Swain.
I know, right? And I know that's pretty bad. And that's
That's a running theme though too. We talk about how once you work in the industry, you play a lot less than people assume you would, or most of us do.
Correct. And I could probably make a little bit stronger push to play myself but I have 2 daughters, 10 and 11, so that there's some responsibilities there I've got to take on. So of course, so it makes it a little bit tough, so far on the front nine, I don't like number 2, but it's a tough hole. I haven't made par on it yet, but it's just been a fun front nine so far, and the back looks really good too, and people like the back nine because it's got the 3 par 4 options and everything. So, but it's a good little operation. It's pretty, it's all right there.
It's easy in and out.
It's easy in and out, and it's different from what I've been used to. We don't have the staff that I've been used to in the past operations. So what you see is what you get. You're not going to get, you get a very good customer service aspect, but it's in a smaller operation. We don't have a driving range, but we have a couple of nets you can hit into to loosen up, and putting green, and hit a couple chip shots, things like that before you get going. And it's just a fun little track, and it's good to be part of the Troon umbrella as well. As you said, they manage Angel Park, and they also manage Mountain Falls and Pahrump.
Yep, and Rio Seco over in Henderson.
Correct, That is correct. And so they've got good Troon Rewards program that we're all involved in, and it's got some good travel privileges. It's just a real good company to be part of and everything.
It's so fun. And let's talk about even some more connections with Angel Park and Durango Hills, because I want to end up segueing into your YouTube channel and your idea that I think is really interesting, again, from a management perspective. But I think a good segue into that would be talking about J.R. McMichael and Random Golf Club, because they were big at Durango Hills. We started with them really pretty big and held multiple events last year. And now I know he's been in touch with you again about going back out. They're a completely different kind of golf group when we're talking about organization of tee sheets and stuff. So with all of the new golfers coming in, how does Durango Hills go about accepting and providing something for them that really doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily?
And so, so for us, we're a good opportunity for people that are brand new to the game, because it's an
executive course.
It's an executive course. It's shorter, and so it works good for JR's group and everything, which it's funny because I just met JR only a couple of weeks ago, and he told me about his what they're doing in this golf side. Their vision. And from a golf course operator, I thought that was the craziest thing I've ever heard, and that made no sense. I do have to call him back and get him on the schedule for this year too, so I will do that when I get back to the office. And so, but the cool thing about just Durango, it just allows you to kind of get out there and just get going. You're not going to be out there for 5 or 6 hours as well. And so that's what's nice about us. And so it.
So what are you doing with your YouTube videos? Because you're trying to make the game more accessible and more informational. So tell us about that, because I think it's a great idea.
So what I did was over Christmas break, I did it what I've been trying to to do for a long time, as every golf course operator has. We've talked about, it's just educating. It's educating the newest golfer and even the experienced golfer too. And so I just made some videos that are 30 seconds to a minute long about just, welcome to the golf course, what to expect when you come and you check in, and asking questions, what questions to ask, where to go, what to look for, what to expect as far as guest services staff helping you or not helping you, depending on the situation. And so I just made some videos, and I've got a, and so it's how to fix a ball mark on the green, what to expect in a shotgun situation when all the carts are staged.
Perfect little, we have the conversation all the time that at Angel Park, the question we get asked the most is, where's the restroom? So
Correct.
Sometimes it's smart to go back and dial it down and give little informational pieces. I think we should be doing the same thing. I think it's brilliant.
And I made it at Durango Hills, but it's really for all golf courses too. I use us, of course, because that's where I'm at, but I used it for all of us too. This is global. I mean,
Cool.
I wanted to, and just because it has Durango and it's promoting Durango or whatever, but it's for Angel Park, it's for the Arroyo, it's for Pebble Beach.
Yep.
It's for everybody that wants to come and play golf and just educate them. What to expect from the golf staff, and like I said, asking questions, and pace of play, how to do pace of play better, raking a bunker, just the simple stuff, where to drive the golf cart, where not to drive the golf cart.
Yeah.
Just stuff that's been the tough thing about with all the new people to the game, which is fantastic. But it's also, now the thing is that we see is, since you're so new to the game, it's your job or your part to ask questions.
Sure, and understand the traditions of the game. We talk about this a lot with the accessibility and trying to make golf more fun and easier to get into. We still have to walk the line that it's a game based on tradition, and there's a culture, and there's a way about it. So one of the things that I think we talk about that I think is interesting is a loosening of the reins and what can be acceptable and what can't be. For instance, dress codes are a lot different than they used to be.
For sure.
But I think what you're addressing is there are some things like how to fix a ball mark that should be learned by everybody really right off the bat. And it's just something that probably isn't taught unless you do what you're doing.
For sure, exactly that. And that's what the videos are explaining as well. And dress code is a big one. And once again, it's just, it is like I said, everybody loves to go online and do all this research, and they need to do that on the golf course before they come. So it just makes it easier for them, and it makes it easier for the golf staff. And they have rules set in place, and you have to respect the rules of that
Right.
property. I don't care how you think about things, and this is a judgment against me. It's the rule of the facility of anything you do, not just golf, but anything.
Yeah, that's the same anywhere.
It is. And so in dress code, our dress code at Durango is a little bit more lax. You can wear a collarless shirt. Angel Park, you're a collared shirt.
Well, no, we're
a little bit.
Yeah, we try to be as lax as possible. It's a collared shirt on the big golf courses, but never on Cloud 9. And
good point.
And
Good
so
point.
and again, we're pretty lax. I remember Jim, our general manager, saying if somebody wants to come out and play an 18-hole golf course without a collar, I don't care. So it's one of those things where, but you're right, you're going to show up at one place where that's a rule, period. It's just like some restaurants where you still have to put a jacket on.
Correct. And so we ask that guest, do a little research before they come so they're prepared. And so if you do go to a country club setting and you have to have a collared shirt, and now they say, well, you got to buy one, and you need to expect that, but just prepare yourself. And these videos are just doing to help you with that, to know that that's something you got to prepare for.
Yeah.
And so it's just educating. And so it's just trying to help everybody, because we want you to come to the golf course and play. We need you there, obviously. We want you there, but we just want it to make it the best for you and the best for us. And just come out, play some golf, have fun, and come and do it again the next day.
That's fun.
So
let's talk about professional golf and the tour. Do you watch much of the tour? Obviously you're a fan, but are you only watching majors, or do you follow?
I always have followed some. I don't watch it 4 straight days by any means, but I like to watch, of course, and I sometimes I follow it close, sometimes I don't. I definitely like to catch the majors for sure.
Do you have any favorites?
You know, not really particular, no particular one. I like, it's cool to see some guys get on these streaks. Scotty Scheffler, obviously, on this hot streak. John Rahm.
He's been on a streak for a year.
It
I saw a
is.
picture of him after the Players, and his head was in his hands, and the caption was trying to soak it all in. And my immediate thought was, he hasn't had a chance to soak it in yet. I mean, he just keeps winning.
Right.
It's insane.
And-
He's not going to be able to soak it in until he loses for a few.
Right. And so it's just cool to just fun to watch good golf. Good competitive golf, and I will say it's been cool. And I think I've met him a time or two in my days. Taylor Montgomery, the local kid here.
Taylor's come up on the show a couple times.
And
He's arguably the hottest player on tour right now.
Right.
The youngest.
And so he's having a great year. That's fun to watch. I do follow him and stuff, and he's just been doing great. It's super cool. I mean, what a, just because there are the local ties and everything. So yeah, no particular favorite, just fun to watch them all. I like to watch it all, and it's cool to see some guys, that that probably shouldn't be winning, but they're winning. It's cool at Kurt Kitayama, local ties as well.
Just won. One of the things that was fun about that is Kurt and Taylor played a little competitive match on our Cloud 9 last October during the Shriners. They came over and they played a 20 push-up match, and Taylor beat Kurt, and and so I have a video of the champ doing 20 push-ups. So I thought that was great when he won the Honor Palmer. That was a lot of fun. I'm going to ask these next two questions in reverse order. I've been asking them, I think, backwards. So let's start with, what's your least favorite thing about golf? Or what would you change?
It's, and obviously, as an operator, I guess you could say there's things that bother me all the time, but I don't know if there's anything majorly I would change. It's just maybe, like I said, just getting more familiar with it from the guest standpoint, things like that. Just knowing, I guess you could say also the least favorite would be the customers, but then that's also the best part of the game. There, too.
Right.
I don't know if that's the right answer either, so sorry guest.
It's an honest answer.
and of course I'm a guest and I'm a consumer as well, but it's just, on a traditional 18-hole golf course, on a regulation course, if you will, the pace of play can get a little slow. Pace of play is a tough issue.
Pace of play is a great answer.
We want and pace, and that's where the education again comes in, and knowing that, if you're laying 12, it's okay. Just pick up and go to the next hole and everything, and because and we know that you paid your money.
Right.
But everybody else did too.
Yeah.
And so for your foursome to take 5.5 hours to play and everybody else is playing in 4 hours, that makes it not fun.
Another one that's important to be taught early, that could be a video about how important it is to play a hole in 10 to 15 minutes. That's what you got to do.
And we know that you're trying to keep a score, and of course, we have the handicap system, the world handicap system, but but don't be a glutton for punishment. Just if you're like I said, if you're laying 10 or 12, it's okay. Just pick up, go to the next hole, and just keep moving, and because who wants to be out there in the middle of summer when it's 120 degrees, no
right.
exaggeration, for 5.5, 6 hours when there's no shade on the golf course, or when it's 40 degrees and you're trying to play, who wants to be out there for 5.5 half hours? So just keep moving. And everybody will enjoy it the most like that. That's probably the biggest thing, but that's just,
and it's a minor thing.
It is, and so but there's not. I mean, it's just golf is a business too, and it's just a business. So there's good and bad, but nothing I can really think honestly that I would change right off the top.
So now the easier question: what's your favorite thing about golf?
The customers, the guest, once again, it makes it great, really, and it's, and like I said, I've been at the Legacy for all that time, and I still see people that I met when I first started, and and they know me and I know them because the rapport we had, and we're in here at Angel Park, and just in meeting just such a mix of people, knowing you for 17 years now, Ben Buck, and being in the business, and these other people I played, just the camaraderie that goes.
The relationships are so tight and long lasting. I mean, that's Robbie and I just shot our 2 episodes. I don't know what orders they're going to air in, but we worked here together in the 90s when we were kids, teenagers, or early 20s, working in the cart barn. And we're still friends with all of those guys. They're all our buddies to this day. We have this kind of connection, and it works that way throughout your entire golf career. With Matt and Alasko, we learned the same thing. We all know the same people.
Right.
We're all friends with the same people. It's a lot of fun. So I love that aspect of the game.
And I'll say, too, is Matt played golf at Odessa College, and that's actually...
He brought that up, yeah.
And that's just right nearby my hometown, too. So, and he was well after me, of course, but that's pretty close to where I'm from.
That's fun, and you watched that watching his episode.
Exactly.
That's great.
And I had known that, I think, before, but yeah, so he's got ties down right in my neck of the woods, too, which is pretty fun, which that makes it so cool. And I'll tell you a quick story is I started a Legacy in 2006, and previous to that, when I was in Brainerd, Minnesota on internship. I'm at, it's called Izades Golf Resort, Central Minnesota, and a guy from New Mexico State was doing an internship there, and then he calls me over there, and he says, "You want to come over and be a rules official for the state high school golf tournament?" I'm like, "Sure." Drive over like 50 minutes over there. I'm sitting in the middle of this fairway talking to this guy, and whatever. We're talking this and that, have this nice chat and everything, and been friendly. And the day ends. I go back, and I come back to New Mexico State. I come out here in May of 2006, and Matini gives me this folder, and for a tournament, and they come out in November, and I'm looking at the name of the tournament. And,
this is going to be great.
And I'm looking at the name of the tournament, and I will say it's called the Lerberg Sipe, Chuck Lerberg, Dennis Sipe. And they show up to the Legacy, and Matini and myself and 3 of their guys, Chuck and Dennis and another guy, are sitting there. We're sitting at the table out on the patio, and this guy and I are looking at each other. This is 4 years after the fact, too.
You recognize
I met him in 2002. In 2006, I'm sitting here, and this guy's sitting across from me, and we're looking at each other, and we're like, I think we know each other. And sure as shit, he and I are sitting in the middle of the fairway in Minnesota in 2002, and now he's sitting there hosting this big tournament with us.
And it was just a guy you played with?
No, I just met him. We didn't even play. We're in a golf cart. He's sitting in a golf cart. I'm sitting in a golf cart. And we're talking, and we're just meeting. And then they come out to Vegas every year. They've been doing it now we're still involved with it.
I was going to say, I remember the name of that group because
yes.
Matini and you were close with them.
Yeah, and I play in the tournament to this day. So he and I are sitting there talking, and 4 years later, and now I meet him, and now we're hosting his event at our golf course.
Ben has a story like that with Jeff Kawana, who we're going to have on the show, just because he's a guy that's been bringing the same group to Angel Park for, I don't know, 20 years or something. Right. And they've become so close that they're really good friends now, and just been through running their golf tournament for so many years.
Absolutely. And so so we host this tournament we'd host it for 3 years. They eventually moved to Las Vegas National, which was fine. And then after that, I started playing in it then, it's a pretty cool, crazy event, but it works, and it's fun. So whenever I first started working there, some of the guys that were there was A, B, C, and D players, and a lot of the A players were golf professionals and stuff. And one guy, one of the pros, I had met him 4 years earlier again at that same Izades course.
Wow.
And I've got a couple of my really good friends are still part of that group to this day, almost, 15, 16, 17 years later and stuff. And that's what makes it so cool.
Yeah.
And the one guy was a club professional, and he called me one time and was asking me about what we do as far as like marketing and things like that. And so just, working back and forth like that in the PGA business part of it, and that's what makes it cool. The network is so large.
Yeah.
And obviously that's a choice that you've got to make as how you're going to be and
Right.
If you're going to be friendly or not friendly, I guess you could say. We'll put it that way.
That's all great perspective, and I've had so much fun on this episode, Kevin. Thank you. That's going to bring us to the last part of the show. We call it the Par 5 of questions. We ask the same questions every week to see what kind of different answers we come up with. So are you ready?
Absolutely.
Awesome. What's your favorite golf movie?
Caddyshack always got great lines.
Such a classic.
It really is, and you can't beat the lines and the one-liners, and of course we all use them to this day and everything. There was another one. It didn't really get much press back in the day. It has Robert Duvall in it. It's called 7 Days in Utopia.
Yeah, you mentioned this earlier, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit more because it keeps happening. I keep hearing golf movies that I haven't seen, and so I want to make a list and go watch these.
For sure, and it's about a guy that he's trying to make it on tour and stuff, and trying to go through the ranks, and he finally he blows up on the last hole, and of course the world's coming to an end in his eyes, and he has some car issues and gets in this town and meets this guy, and the guy just kind of takes him to the side and kind of just helps him get his bearings back and everything, and just knowing and things like that. So it just
sounds
really
great.
Yeah, it's just and it's just knowing that the world, the sun's gonna rise, the sun's gonna set and the sun's gonna rise the next day too, and not to even though it probably feels like it, and you'll be there tomorrow.
That's true.
It'll be there tomorrow.
Shot number 2. What's your favorite golf club in your bag and why?
Oh gosh, since I don't play very much, I don't really have a favorite right now. I will say it used to be my dad built me a set of clubs back when I was in 7th grade, so a couple years ago. They were Golfsmith, and they were called Tour Model 2 at the time, and had a 56-degree sand wedge, and that's got to be my all-time favorite. And I used it up until, I forgot how many years now, what's it been, maybe 10 years that the PGA changed the grooves,
right?
The groove rule, and that one had non-conforming grooves, so I had to finally take it out of my bag if I was going to play in competitive events. I cried a little bit that day when I did have to take that club out, because it's gotten me, It was a great golf club. I love it, and it's won me some money, and
that's a fun answer.
Won me some fun golf stories too.
Yeah, even if you don't have one now, everyone's had a favorite club,
right? And
that's what makes it a good question. Question number 3, my favorite question: what's your Mount Rushmore of golf? What's your dream threesome? So if you can pick any 3 players, alive or dead, to play around a golf with, who would you pick, and where would you play?
Good question. It's obviously, to say a pro would be cool too, but really, just I tell you what, playing with my dad, my buddy Scott, my buddy JR, who I grew up. JR we're all the same age, and he moved when we were in 7th grade, but played still a lot of golf with him. And Scott and I played the most golf together. Just battling over the years back and forth.
Is your dad still with us?
He is, absolutely. Yeah, he doesn't play as much
now.
now.
You're the second or third person who's come up with an answer that you can do. You should be doing this,
and we
should set this up.
We should, yeah, and we do need to, and of course, like I say, I guess we just all make excuses when we're not doing it,
right,
and everything, and he doesn't play as much, but he still bats it around. He was a really good player earlier on, and I will say, one of my best memories, I know you've asked that question before, and I've got my own memories, of course, but with Scott, with JR, but with my dad, it was funny because probably one of the coolest was he worked in the oil and gas business, but he had a pretty good job to where he could do his stuff in the morning, and he played a lot of golf when I was younger. I do remember, hence why I was out there. And I remember pulling into the golf course, and they had just played what they call a rabbit drive, which is just, a bunch of guys get in together and make teams and go play. And I think it's like on a Friday afternoon, I believe, and I got there about 12 o'clock or so, and they had already played their morning rabbit drive. And gosh, I remember seeing him, and I could see him drive up, and he's got like the biggest smile on his face, and I get out of the truck and, hey, Dad, hey, Kev, and he has a scorecard. And he says, what do you think about that? And he kind of slaps me with it, and I look at it, and he shoots 63.
Wow!
He shoots 63 with the bogey, but he had
the bogey
but he has a double eagle as well. And just the I can picture it to this day, and that's been some years ago, of course, and just how excited he was. It was such a cool
neat.
moment, and I wasn't even there, but
That's
just
so low.
it is.
Oh my goodness!
And that was the course record at the club for a long time, until finally, just a few years ago, a kid broke it. And that was pretty cool. That was pretty neat, and just.
All right, since Matini's already come up and we just told a course record golf story, I have to tell this. Jason Matini is going to be upset at me for telling this, but he got to go play Bears Best out here not long after it opened. I think in the first year or two it was open, and he got to play with Rickie Fowler. So it was a big deal. And Jason Matini, as I mentioned earlier, a hell of a golfer, a stick. Played against the greatest who's ever played in college, and he got to go play with Rickie Fowler. Rickie Fowler shoots 63, which is the course record, so they're going to take a picture with the scorecard, and Matini's up there with like a 78 or 79, and he's so mad. He calls me and he's like, "I've got to have a scorecard where I got beat by 16." Hanging in the golf shop. I just always thought that. So he was on the flip side of that.
And I know that story because a good friend of mine, local club pro Tom Sweeney, was in that same foursome.
Was he playing with him? Yeah.
And I will say too, because I know the foursome was Kevin Marsh, who.
Oh, that's right. That's how he got to play with them.
Yes,
yeah.
And so Kevin Marsh, who is just amazing, played in the 1997 Masters, and the scores I think were 63. Marsh shoots 68. Sweeney shoots, I think, like 72, and Matini shoots 78. And so Matini and Sweeney they're just donating to the cause. And even Kevin Marsh is donating to the cause. So I hope you guys enjoy that little kickback.
That is so fun.
Of course, that's secondhand dust, but that would have been but then I remember Tom telling me about it, and he said it was so cool. He said
it had to be amazing.
He said, and Fowler said he made bogey that day too, and he said he made it so easy. He said it was unreal. He said he just hit it long and down the middle. He hit on the green and made putts, and he missed some putts too.
Brandon Bauman the other day was talking about how the new length in golf courses doesn't affect the players, the real good players. You're not making it any more difficult for them.
I liked what he said about that too. Yeah, and because the one thing about being something tough, difficult with golf is if you lengthen them, well, people are going to go back to that length and play it. If it's 8,000 yards, they're going to play it 8,000 yards. They can't hit it 100, but they're going to play it 8,000. So Brandon made a really good point about that, and just if you want to make it difficult, put some, we're going to host a tournament called Heaven and Hell at Durango that Andy Dyro and
You've been doing it since the Legacy. I love this concept.
Correct. Andy Dyro and I set it up over at Legacy back then, and it's 9 holes of heaven. We use the big cups, or maybe we'll use 3 cups on a hole. The tees are up, and then on the hell side, the cups are in some unique position. We'll call it firm but fair.
Right.
But the tees are back. Again, playable, but
but hard.
And so and it makes a difference,
It's a great concept. And that's the second time Andy's come up on the show. So, Andy, I know you're all the way in the Bahamas, but I would love to have you on the show
Absolutely,
sometime.
For sure. And so it just is, and once again, just that's the best thing about the golf, just the memories. Andy and I working together, former Angel Park guy back in the 90s.
Everybody ties back to Angel Park. Everybody.
And he and I, we're still good friends to this day and stuff. I went out and played Baja Mar where he was at in September and everything. And we've known each other now for 10 or 12 years and stuff. And you've known him for 20 plus years. And that's what makes the golf business so cool too.
Yeah, it really, really, really does. Question number 4, what's your aiming fluid? What are you drinking on the golf course? What's your favorite drink?
I'm kind of whatever. I don't drink, I'll have a beer or two, maybe as far as alcohol is concerned, but I know my limits, and if I have very many, I'm pretty much in the can.
Useless.
So I get a little sideways. I'm not gonna lie, and so
I love that about you.
I get a little sideways, and it does not take much. So if I was ever forced to drink alcohol on the course, I'd have to forfeit the match. And so, but yeah, I mean, I'm a soda guy, or Coke, or Gatorade, or Arnold Palmer, whatever. Whatever gets
something
me
to drink.
Yeah, just something to drink. And actually, a good cold water is pretty good for me, honestly.
That's great.
So.
All right, question number 5. the time in our show where we may not be PG rated, so we're not going to put a tag on the front of this one because Kevin is so clean. But if you happen to have an answer that contains profanity, now is the time that it's okay to say it. And the question on question number 5 is, when you let your anger get the best of you on the golf course, is there any particular word or phrase you use? Because most golfers tend to have one thing that they say.
Damn it! I just hit it high left out of bounds, and I'm just gotta, damn it! Like
that is great. That is great. I'm going to have to edit the volume, but that's awesome.
And that's about how I say it. And I will say, now that I'm older, a little bit more wiser, if you will, I say it, and I can luckily get over it pretty quickly. Used to as a kid playing in college and high school, I would say it, and then I just dwell on it. And just act like a big turd. And so now I can kind of say it and just get over it.
It's an excellent answer.
And I will say too, one thing I've learned in the years and I've noticed is that's kind of how I am. Is I can say, "Damn it," and then get over it. And one thing I've noticed about, like, with being a golf operator and teaching is we swing the golf club like our golf swing matches our personalities.
That's true.
And that's kind of how I am. And at work, I just lose it for a second, and then I get over it.
And then you're done.
And that's exactly how I swing a golf club. If I swing it nice and good, like my temperament is, I hit the ball fine. But then I just all of a sudden just, damn it, and I get sideways.
Rocky was saying this in an episode where he likened it to basketball and how if he's not hitting the ball well, it's not like if he's not shooting the ball well, where he gets more aggressive and he takes it to the hole and tries to get to the foul line. It doesn't work that way in golf. You can't try to push yourself to greater things. You almost have to do the opposite and back off and let it go.
Right.
That's a big theme about the use of whatever words it is when you get angry, because you are letting it go. Those words tend to be therapeutic. I think that's why we repeat them. So anyway, I just think that's really interesting, and why we're just going to keep that the last question of the show. So that's it, man. Thank you so much again for coming in.
Chad, it's my
really
pleasure.
Appreciate
my
it.
pleasure. It's been great.
Yeah, it's really cool. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Until next time, hit 'em straight from your friends at Angel Park. Cheers.